So Bazaarvoice was started with my co-founder, Brent Barden, and we both came from Core Metrics, the previous business that I founded. And we're looking at what's going to drive the next big wave of online conversion, primarily at retail sites, is what we're initially looking at. We came out with ratings and reviews offered as a service. We're ultimately a software as a service business. Word of mouth has always been with us as human beings, and it was defined really well in the book, The Clue Train Manifesto, which came out in 1999, and is an excellent read if you want to put in context everything that's happening with Facebook and blogging and word of mouth essentially coming online, including what we do with product reviews and service reviews. And this wave that you see happening is happening because human beings ultimately want to connect with each other. They ultimately want to get good experiences, whether it's a product or whether it's a service, or even whether it's a person that's going to provide them with some type of service. We're wired to help each other. There's a lot of beauty in humanity in the way that we are wired to help each other and the way that we're wired to help each other with word of mouth. We've actually surveyed that the number one reason people write reviews is altruism, right? They want to help the fellow customer. The shift from product reviews, which is something that everybody can understand, to a service review is a shift that's coming like a freight train in the industry. And it's ultimately going to transform the industry like it's transforming the world of products. And where this all goes at the end of the day is much better products and services for all customers and much better experiences for retailers and financial services firms. Because they'll know that they're providing a much better product to their customers at the end of the day. So the big misconception is that all of the content coming in is going to be negative. We've seen this pattern in the industry, and we've seen this now worldwide, where you have word of mouth coming on in this digital form. It's the first time in history that word of mouth has been digital. And we've seen this pattern where the majority of reviews or content is positive, on a 5-star basis being an average of a 4.3, with 80% of reviews received on a global basis being a 4 or 5 star. And we've seen that same pattern in services. That's consistent across all industries that we've observed to date. But it's ultimately based on what kind of experiences they're providing for their customers. And I would say that a good business, a business that is growing, that has great customer satisfaction survey results and has great client retention, is going to see that reflected in the majority of the word of mouth that they receive. And where there are negatives, those negatives are a gift to that person because they give them something very actionable to work on, and they can even respond to it and say, hey, we listened to you. Here's exactly what we did to fix our business based on your feedback. We've seen a huge increase in SEO, where the content that's collected is ultimately consumer-generated content. So it is very long tail in nature. And when people search on Google, they're not searching in marketing speak, they're searching in consumer speak. They're searching in the voice of the marketplace. And so this content can ultimately match what they're searching on much more precisely than what a marketer could generate on their own. Well, in the financial services space, there's no doubt that word of mouth has always played the most significant role in customer acquisition. As I think about it, I personally work with Raymond James, and I've had a phenomenal experience with my advisor, Carl Carlos. And Carl is someone that I really trust, and I've grown to really trust. And I've since turned Carl on to many prospective clients and say, you can trust this person. Here's how he's different. I've assessed other financial advisors, and I feel good when I'm doing that. I feel good about telling my friends to use him. because I feel like I'm passing on, something that could ultimately, dramatically change their financial situation. One of the things that I like to brag about with Carl is in the past 2 years, we've been up in the market where everybody else has been down. And, that's a real credit to him and his strategy and how he's advised me and my wife, Deborah. So, with financial services, at the end of the day, for financial advisors, word of mouth is going to play the most significant role. And whether it's a product or a service or a person, fleshing out the unique attributes of that service and how consumers think about it are incredibly important. And I predict that within several years, this is going to revolutionize the financial services industry, specifically with financial advisors, because there is so little transparency today. And if you think about it, for a financial advisor, this is a huge, huge blessing, because if they can start to collect a lot of content from high net promoters like myself for Carl and get that content in a digital form, then it's going to permeate SEO. It's going to help them out on Google and Yahoo and Bing. It's going to permeate their website, where ultimately they can host that content and everybody coming in can see it. And there's a lot higher leverage than me just having one conversation with one local person in Austin, Texas, when it goes online. Well, they have been slow to adopt, and part of it is that their industry is in a massive amount of change right now, and so they've got their eyes on a lot of different balls. I think that ultimately you're going to see a massive movement in the next 2 years. That would be my prediction. We're starting to see that happen, and today Bazaarvoice has 590 clients globally, so we have some credibility in saying that we're going to see that movement happen pretty quickly. It's not the fastest moving industry. It's not the fastest moving industry to adopt any type of technology. Like, there's a big problem right now in the financial advisory space, just in using things like Twitter and Facebook and other, very well adopted social practices at this point, doing their own blog. And part of it is because of the regulation issues, which have to be well considered and navigated, legally. But I'm confident that all of that will work itself out within the next couple of years. I absolutely do. I mean, as soon as they get the first recommendation from a friend from fabeetle, and we see this pattern where people ultimately contribute more content once they're getting value from the content themselves. Just like when I tell someone about Carl, they end up using Carl, they also have a good experience. They're very incentivized to then pass it on and tell their friend about Carl. And the same thing is going to be true with your site, where as soon as you start to create that network effect, as soon as you start to get more and more people on there reviewing financial advisors, it's going to catch on like wildfire, because there is no place that people can go today where it's a centralized source for reviews on all financial advisors, and questions and answers that people would have about using their services, and just other forms of word of mouth that ultimately allow them to select a financial advisor. It's coming fast. It's going to be very transformative, and it's going to happen at an accelerated pace here, much faster than people think that it will ultimately happen. What's happening with Facebook and blogs and Twitter and all of these things happening and converging at the same time, there's no stopping the trend of consumers wanting to talk to each other, and we've always been wired that way as human beings, because there is no place that people can go today where it's a centralized source for reviews on all financial advisors.